You don't need a computer science degree to become an AI engineer. But if all you have is certificates, hiring managers will ignore you. The people who break into AI from finance, healthcare, retail, and other non-technical careers usually have one thing a lot of beginners never built: proof. I'm Mohit, a lead AI engineer at IBM, and in this video, I'll show you the 12-week plan I'd follow if I were starting from zero today. What to learn, what to build, and the mistakes that make a lot of beginners look unhireable. I want to start with the biggest myth, that a computer science degree is the thing standing between you and AI engineering. It's not. When a hiring manager looks at an AI engineering candidate, they are not only asking, where did this person go to school? They're asking, can this person think like an AI engineer? Can they break down a messy problem? Can they decide what the AI should do? Can they spot where it might fail? Can they explain their choices clearly? That is the real test. And here's the part a lot of non-CS professionals miss. You may already do a version of this every day. If you work in finance, healthcare, HR, operations, retail, or management, you already deal with messy problems, unclear information, trade-offs, and decisions that need to be explained to other people. That background is not useless. It is raw material. But raw material is not enough. You still need technical skills and you still need proof. That is where a lot of beginners lose. They try to prove they are serious with certificates, but hiring managers do not hire certificates. They hire evidence. I have seen people with no technical background build real AI projects in 12 weeks and explain those projects better than candidates with computer science degrees. Not because they memorized more theory, but because they built proof. So the question is not, do I have the right degree? The question is, can I build something that proves I can think and work like an AI engineer? That is what the next 12 weeks are designed to do. A lot of people come to me after 6 months of trying to break into AI on their own. The first question I ask is not, what course did you finish? It is, what did you build? That is where the problem shows up. A lot of people have copied tutorials. They have completed bootcamp exercises. They have small practice projects that technically run, but they did not make any real decisions. They did not choose the problem. They did not design the workflow. They did not decide what the AI should do. They did not test where it fails. They did not explain why they built it that way. So when a hiring manager looks at the work, there is no signal. It does not prove the person can work like an AI engineer. It only proves that they can follow instructions. And I don't blame them. Like, when you're new, the safe path feels obvious. Study first, build later. But in AI engineering, that is where people lose months. Because companies do not hire you because you watch the right videos. They hire you because you can take a real problem, use AI to solve it, and explain the choices you made. That is why this 12-week path flips the order. You do not wait until you feel ready to build. You build from week 1. Real problems, real choices, real feedback, real proof. Every week has one goal: create evidence that a hiring manager can trust. Not another certificate sitting on your LinkedIn profile, not another tutorial project that looks exactly like everyone else's, not learning that never turns into anything real. By the end, you should not just be able to say, I studied AI. You should be able to say, here's the problem I solved, here is how I built it, here's why it works, and here's what I would improve next. That is the difference between looking interested in AI and looking hireable. Let me show you why this path matters right now. AI is not a small career trend anymore. LinkedIn's 2025 Global Jobs Report listed AI engineer as the fastest growing job in multiple countries, and the money is moving in the same direction. PwC's 2025 Global AI Jobs Barometer found that workers with AI skills earn a 56% wage premium compared with workers in the same occupations who do not have the AI skills. Salary reports are showing the same pressure. One 2026 AI salary benchmark found that AI engineer salaries reached an average of $206,000 in 2025, up roughly $50,000 from the previous year. So yes, the opportunity is real. But here is the part a lot of beginners miss. The opportunity is not evenly distributed. The market is hungry for AI talent, but it is not equally hungry for people who only have beginner-level proof. One AI engineering market analysis found that only 2.5% of AI engineering job postings target candidates with 0 to 2 years of experience. That means most AI roles are not saying, come in with nothing and we will train you from zero. They are saying, show us that you can already build. Show us that you can take the messy problem, design an AI workflow, make technical decisions, test where the system fails, and explain why your solution works. This is why certificates alone are weak proof. A certificate says, I completed the material, A real project says, I can use AI to solve a problem. And in this market, the difference matters. Because if you're coming from a non-CS background, your goal is not just to look interested in AI. Your goal is to make a hiring manager believe that this person has already done the kind of work we need. That is what this 12-week plan is designed to build. Not just knowledge, market-ready proof. So let me make this practical. When I say 12 weeks, I do not want that to sound like a vague promise. I want you to see exactly what happens week by week, what you build, what you learn, and how the process turns you into someone who can think, build, and interview like an AI engineer. Weeks 1 and 2, choosing the right product and understanding the system. This is where a lot of paths go wrong right away. A lot of people pick a random project from a list, or they build a chatbot because that is what every tutorial shows. That is not the right starting point. The first step is choosing the right product to build. Something connected to your background, your interests, or the kind of role you want. This matters a lot, because when you build something you care about, the work is better. You think more deeply, you make better choices, and later, when you talk about it in an interview, people can feel that. Then you learn about how real AI products work behind the scenes. Think about Google Maps. You type in a place, it gives you the directions. Looks simple from your side, but a lot is happening behind the screen. The app needs to know where you are, it needs to know the roads, it needs to check traffic, it needs to find the best route, and if you miss a turn, it needs to fix the route. If one part is wrong, the whole answer can be wrong. AI products work the same way. A lot of beginners only focus on the AI model, but the model is just one part. You also need to know, where does the data come from? Where does the answer go? What happens if the AI gives a bad answer? How do you know if the product is working? So by the end of week 2, you stop seeing AI as magic and start seeing it like an engineer, as a system. And that shift changes everything. Weeks 3 to 6. Building like a real AI engineer. This is where real work starts. Not tutorial work, not a perfect example where the answer is obvious. Real AI work is messier than that. Sometimes the problem is unclear. Sometimes the data is not clean. Sometimes there is more than one possible answer. And you have to make choices. That is what real engineers do. You start by building the simple version of the product that is called the MVP. That just means the smallest version that still works. Not the final version, not the perfect version, just the first working version. Then you use AI to help you code. But I want to be very clear about this. AI-assisted coding is a huge advantage, but only if you use it the right way. If you just ask AI to write code, copy it, paste it, and run it without understanding it, that is not engineering. It's a shortcut. And that shortcut breaks the moment a hiring manager asks you one follow-up question. The right way is different. You use AI like a thinking partner. You tell it what you want, you check what it gives you ask why the code works, you learn what the code is doing, you look for where it might break, and you write down the choices you made. That is the difference between someone who looks like they can code and someone who actually thinks like an engineer. The goal in weeks 3 to 6 is not just to build an app. The goal is to build the thinking behind the app. Weeks 7 to 10, making the product real. This is the part that separates a real project from a tutorial. Project that only works on your laptop is not enough. It's a good start, but it's not strong proof yet. Because a hiring manager needs to see more than a demo. They need to see that the product can work in the real world. So in weeks 7 to 10, the product becomes real. You learn how to put it online. You learn how to test it. You learn how to watch what happens when people use it. You learn how to see when something breaks. And you learn how to find the problem and fix it. Think of it like a doctor checking a patient. The doctor looks at the heart rate, blood pressure, and temperature. Those numbers tell the doctor if the body is healthy or something is wrong. Your AI product needs the same kind of signs. You need to know, is it running? Is it slow? Is it giving bad answers? Where did the problem happen? What needs to be fixed? That is what monitoring means. It means watching the product while it runs. Tracing means going back step by step to see where something broke. So by the end of week 10, your product is not just impressive in theory. It is something a hiring manager can look at, test, and understand. That is what I mean by real proof. Weeks 11 and 12, turning the project into hiring proof. This is the final step, and this is the step that makes everything count. A lot of people build good projects and still do not get offers. And when I talk to them, the reason is usually the same. They can show what they built, but they cannot explain why they built it that way. They talk about the finished product, but they cannot explain the choices behind it. And that is what hiring managers are really testing. They want to know how you think. So in weeks 11 and 12, you go through your project the way a hiring manager would. Every choice gets questioned. Why did you build this part first? Why did you use this tool? What would you improve? Where could this break? What would happen if more users used it? What would you do if the AI gave a bad answer? You practice answering those questions clearly. You practice explaining your projects in simple way. You practice defending your choices without sounding lost. By the end of week 12, you are not just someone who built something. You are someone who can present the work, explain the work, defend the work, and talk about it like someone who truly understands what they built. That is real credibility, and that is what gets you hired. I want to show you what this looks like in real life. One person I worked with came from HR. No computer science degree, no coding background, no technical job title. Before we worked together, she had spent almost a year doing what a lot of beginners do. Watching tutorials, taking courses, collecting certificates, trying to feel ready. But when she looked at her portfolio, there was still nothing that proved she could work like an AI engineer. No real product, no real technical decisions, no project that felt different from everyone else's. No proof a hiring manager could actually trust. And after a while, that starts to mess with your confidence. She started thinking, maybe I'm too far behind. Maybe I need another year. Maybe this path is not for someone like me. But the problem was not her ability, the problem was the path. So instead of giving her another random tutorial project, we started with something that she actually cared about. She was interested in space, planets, exoplanets, and all the science behind them. So that became the foundation. We built an AI product around that interest, not because space was a perfect industry choice, but because it gave her something a lot of beginner projects do not have: ownership. She had to make decisions. What should the product do? What data should it use? How should the AI respond? Where could it fail? How would she explain the system to someone else? That is where the growth happened. Because when you build something you actually care about, you stop sounding like someone who followed instructions. You start sounding like someone who made decisions. And hiring managers can feel that difference. After 12 weeks, she did not just have AI knowledge, she had proof. She had a working product. She could explain the architecture. She could talk through trade-offs. She could explain what she would improve next. And that changed how she showed up in interviews. She eventually landed a role at one of the biggest tech companies in the world, went through multiple interviews, and increased her salary by about 300%. Not because she became a genius overnight, not because she had the perfect background, but because she stopped preparing in circles and started building evidence. That is what this path is supposed to produce. Not confidence from motivation, confidence from proof. A lot of people will watch this and think, this makes sense. I'll start next month when things calm down. But I want to be honest with you. Waiting is not neutral. It feels safe because you're still learning. You are still watching videos. You're still collecting information. So it feels like progress. But if none of that turns into proof, the market does not see it. And while you are waiting, the bar just keeps moving. More people are learning AI tools. More people are building projects. More people are figuring out how to show their work. And companies are becoming more specific about what they expect. It does not mean the opportunity is gone. It means that the beginner strategy has changed. You cannot just spend another year preparing in private and expect the market to reward you for the effort that it cannot see. The advantage right now is that AI is still moving faster than the traditional education is. Companies still need people who can build, automate, prototype, test, and explain AI systems. And the school system is not producing enough of those people fast enough. That is why someone from a non-technical background can still compete. But that window just gets more competitive every year. So 2 years from now, more candidates will have AI skills. More candidates will have portfolios. More candidates will know how to use the same tools you are thinking about learning later. So preparation mode is not harmless. It feels responsible, but if it never turns into real work, it quietly makes the path harder. This is not about panic. It's just about timing. The market is moving. The tools are moving. The standard is moving. And if you want to enter this field, your proof has to move too. If you're in finance, HR, management, healthcare, retail, operations, or any non-technical role, and you have been wondering whether there's a real path into AI for someone like you, the answer is yes. But the path is not collecting more certificates. It's building proof, a real project, a real problem, a real explanation of how you solved it, and that is what makes a hiring manager take you seriously. So if you want help figuring out what that path could look like for you, I'm offering a free call. On that call, we will look at where you are right now, what you have tried, what you've built, what is missing, and whether this 12-week path actually makes sense for your background. No pressure, no fake promises, no pretending this is easy, just a direct conversation about what is realistic and what your next step could be. To see if you qualify, use the link in the description to book a call, because 12 weeks from now, one of two things will be true. You will either have proof that makes companies trust you, or you will still be preparing. That decision starts today.